Hello friends, Coach Bob with you today, and today we are going to be finishing up on part 2 of why do we die on motorcycles. You know, the first 5 things were things that were directly within our control. The personal responsibility things, if you will. Those are the factors that we can directly change. And when I say directly change, I mean directly change. So what are the other 5 things? There are things that we don't really have control over, but we can control how we respond to them. In other words, if we know that these other 5 factors are going to endanger our lives, we can be a little more cautious in how we approach them. But before we get started, if you would do me a favor, head down below, give this video a thumbs up, and subscribe to the channel if you would. It really does help us. It helps the channel grow, moves them up in the algorithm, and all that cool stuff. So let's talk about the 5 external forces, the things that we can't directly change, but we can change how we respond to them. So there's 5 of them. We had the first 5 issues last week, so we're going to pick up with number 6 this week, is weather and seasons. Yes, weather and seasons. We know that riding in the rain can affect visibility. We know that riding in snow and in ice can certainly affect your traction. Riding in the winter time when it's cold, we do have the greater potential for hitting that icy patch on the road. In the fall, we have those leaves that get on the ground, and anybody who's ever been out in the morning even with their tennis shoes on, and they're kind of running down the road or messing around, and those leaves get a little water on them. You step on them and it's like, whoop, there you are. You find yourself rear end over tea kettle, if you know what I'm talking about. Well, the same thing holds true on a motorcycle. You know, often in the fall, we like to ride, to watch the seasons change. We see those beautiful leaves, the different colors and all of that. Well, when you see that big patch of leaves on the road and they look a little damp, be very, very careful of that scenario. That's a good way to end up in the ditch. Rain, again, affects your visibility. When it's cold and you're breathing, that steam as you breathe it out starts to fog up your glasses and the windscreen on your helmet, the face shield of your helmet, that sort of stuff. Just know that seasons, when it's cold, and then there's the other side of it, the heat, where you get dehydrated and you get lethargic because of it. You're frustrated. That turns into that emotional side of riding that we talked about last week. So understand weather and seasons is number 6. You got to be real careful. So number 7 is road conditions. Now, road conditions we think of more often than not. We think about traffic, but we do need to pay attention to a few of these. So let's talk about a few of them. What about a poorly lit road or an intersection where you can't see the hazard that's in there? Or what about a curb that's not marked properly? The lines aren't in the road. Hidden driveways, places where sand is washed down a hill onto a curb. All of these road conditions that we are unaware of, if we're on that new stretch of road, that we have a lot of possibilities there of the things that we're going to run into on that roadway. No shoulders, no guardrails, no sidelines on the road. Those lines that are painted on the side of the road. We have a road here called Miles Johnson Road. I ride it often. In the evening time and early morning before the sun's really up, the edge of the road is hard to discern between that and the ditch. There's no real shoulder. It just kind of runs right off. And the pavement's black. It's dirt. You just have a hard time seeing where the edge of the road stops and the beginning of the ditch begins. Low-hanging branches. I ride out on White House Road. There's a section of the road where there's a vine that hangs down on the road. And every time I ride through there, I think, man, I wonder how low that vine is this week. Is it going to grab me and hang me off the dang motorcycle? Bridge joints, railroad tracks, the drawbridge with the corrugated metal. Those things are very, very slick and can be really, really scary. Standing water, and of course, the aforementioned grass clippings that will certainly get all in your business. So be as aware as you possibly can when it comes to the road situation, but understand that a lot of times you don't know what's coming around that corner. So always ride defensively, anticipating the potential for disaster. Now, we've talked about that external force that is the roadway, but what about that other external force? You know the one I'm talking about. Other drivers. I had an acquaintance here in the last couple of months die in a motorcycle accident, and I was told, now I don't know this to be true, that there was a possibility that they were trying to make a yellow light. These intersections, it's very often you'll have someone making that left turn and you're trying to make that yellow light, and all of a sudden it's T-Bone City. Also, there are a lot of times when people are just making that left turn and they don't see you. You know, when you're on a motorcycle, when you're approaching that vehicle that's getting ready to make that left turn in front of you, they are looking at a lot of things, and a lot of times, especially on two-wheel motorcycles, where you have very limited lighting and this very narrow profile. In the evening time, or if they're looking into the sun, you can be very, very difficult to see. Anyone who's ever pulled out in front of a motorcycle, and I've done it in a car and on a motorcycle, you can miss them, you can lose them in that when you're looking, even when you think you're looking right at them, it's sometimes difficult to see them depending on the time of day, the lighting within the intersection. Yes, there are always times where it's just an inattentive driver, and that is certainly dangerous. But understand, we have a certain responsibility as we approach these intersections to anticipate the left-hand turn. You can't always catch it, you can't always miss it, but it's something to be aware of. Always look for the left-hand turn in front of you. We talked about us being distracted by cell phones and other things. Understand that those drivers and those automobiles are no different than we are. In fact, I will say in an automobile, you're more prone to be distracted because you are in an isolated environment. That isolated environment gives you a false sense of security, and all of a sudden you find yourself adjusting a radio station or a phone. You're texting someone. I know you shouldn't text and drive, but I also know that most people do it. So people need to get off the phone. We need to quit texting while we're driving. Now, here is a startling statistic for you. Since 2003, cell phone use alone has increased, you ready? 1,500%. 1,500% in the last 18 years, 17 years, cell phone use has increased that dramatically. Man, the distractions are limitless. But we have to pay attention for those who are not listening to this video, who aren't watching this video. They're going to text. They're going to talk on the phone. They're going to be heads down driving. And you have to understand distracted driving is part of it. It could be someone in an argument in the vehicle. It could be someone reaching around. Their child is choking. You have no idea what's going on inside that vehicle. It can be something very benign. It can be something just careless. It can be something that's downright dangerous. But understand that distracted driving is a definite part of what is going on as an external force, and we have to anticipate as much of that as we possibly can. And the very last thing, roadway users and traffic threats. So what does that mean? Well, I can tell you what it means. It means that sudden stop in front of you for no reason. The squirrel runs out in front of the car, and the SUV does not want to run over the squirrel. And so they slam on their brakes, endangering your life and the lives of other motorists because they panic when they see the squirrel. Vehicle shadows, large vehicles obscuring the view of where you are and what you are. Lane changes where you're riding in that, here's the car in front of you, that quarter panel. We never ride along that quarter panel in that blind spot. That other driver can't see you there, and they will make that unexpected lane change, and all of a sudden, there you are. And that is not a place you want to be. So if you're on that rear quarter panel, either back off or get on around them. Another thing that happened to me recently, I was driving down a road over near Tallahassee Memorial Hospital near a school, and they had parking on the side of the road, parallel parking. And as I was driving down the road, and it was somewhat narrow and there was a lot of traffic, a guy opened his door. Had I not slammed on brakes, I would have certainly ripped the door off his car at best, and at worst, run over him and injured the both of us. Understand, those things happen. He looked in the rearview mirror, he didn't see me, he opened the door, and there it was. Here's something else that might have happened to you before. Have you ever been driving down the road and you see the dude smoking the cigarette or the cigar, and all of a sudden he just flings it out of the window, and you're on a motorcycle. You know, the last thing you want to do is have a scorching hot cigarette or cigar going down the old jacket. Little things can happen. that can make you react, you can respond. A plastic bag in the road where the wind whips it up and it's all of a sudden it's up and you kind of panic. What if I hit it? What if it goes over my face shield? What if it does this? What if it does that? Overreaction to small things that are in the road can create real problems. A dead animal that's in the road, slamming on brakes or trying to miss something that you could run over. You know, last week I ran over a dead squirrel. I know he was already dead, but you know the idea, the little squishy mark, you try not to do that stuff. But if I'd have swerved into the other lane, it would have been a head-on collision, would have been a lot worse. So keep your head on a swivel, ride like you're invisible, and expect the unexpected. It's just what you have to do. We all have to do it. But these external forces, we don't have direct control over them. But there are things that we can do, and that is pay very close attention. So internal forces 1 through 5 are things that we can directly change so that 6 through 10 will have less impact on us as we ride on our way. Again, 80% of motorcycle accidents result in injury and or death. As motorcycle riders, we have to be diligent, we have to be alert, and we have to do the right thing. That means wearing our gear, helmet, jacket, gloves, boots, jeans. Wear your protective gear. It really is important. There are things that you're not going to be able to avoid. There are accidents that are going to happen, and this gear can very well save your life. Also, be sober, get your training, have a high level of awareness, and anticipate what you're going to do when real hazards occur. And you only can do that through practice, practice, and more practice. I want you to be safe, do the right thing, and as usual, go out, buy the motorcycle of your dreams, eat right, take care of yourself. And remember, if you're not having fun, you are doing it wrong. You go seize the day, and I will see you on the road real soon.